Greetings, everyone. I want to welcome you to Sanctuary of Hope's Census Outreach and Voter Education Happy Hour. We're trying to start this moment off with some very live libations, good vibes, and good libations. Unlike some of you, I don't have an opportunity to join you with a nice, beautiful alcoholic drink, but what I am joining you with is some Dr. Pepper, which is suitable, especially after this event where I will be returning home and I have to drive home. So I want to make sure that I'm safe. But I want to thank you for joining us tonight, because we're here for a very important gathering, which is the census and voter education. And we know that numbers right now are critically low. And so we want to take this opportunity to maximize and increase the turnout of completion rates for the census. And you could do that while you're sitting right here, you're listening to our stream by going to www.my2020census.gov to complete the census while you're learning some key information that we have to share with you today or tonight. And so our very important guest that we have coming up, his name is Kurt Samuels. He is with Community Coalition, and he's going to be sharing with you his perspective and his work that he's doing currently around the census and voter education with the Community Coalition. Kurt?
And thank you for inviting me to the Sanctuary of Hope's Census and Voter Education Virtual Happy Hour. I'm honored and I'm privileged to be speaking with you all today. I hope you all are having fun, get turned, you do your thing, like I said, it's honored and privileged to be here and speaking with you all. So I wanted to talk about a couple of things. I should introduce myself, right? Yeah, my name is Kurt Samuels. I'm with Community Coalition. And I wanted to talk about the census. I wanted to talk about voter education. Those are two things that I'm very familiar with. I've been doing that for the past few years now. As far as the census, I've been doing a lot of work. I've been working with South Los Angeles and South Bay organizations to help them get enumerated, to help them learn about the self-response rates in their area. So I want to talk to you all about the census and hope you understand why this is so important right now. Pretty much the census is a count of every single person in this country. It doesn't matter if you're a citizen, it doesn't matter if you're a non-citizen, it doesn't matter if you're male, female, tall, short, every single human being. If you have a heartbeat, you need to be counted in the census, period. This is about federal funding. This is about taking all that money that goes to Washington, D.C., and when they start dividing it and they start dishing it out, it's because they're looking at the census count, they're looking at census populations. So if you're not being counted in the census, you're not going to get that funding. So as a Black man, when I know that prostate cancer or diabetes is something that is going to affect me a lot more just because I'm a Black man, then it's important for me to be counted, because when the CDC is looking for where they want to do research for prostate cancer, when the CDC is looking for what hospitals they want to fund so they can have a prostate cancer center in that hospital, they're looking at the census information. They're looking at it, they're saying, oh, okay, well, we need to put one over here, or there's a lot of Black men over here, we need to put some money over there. So if I'm not counted, I'm not going to get that funding. So that's why census, being counted in the census is important. It's also about political representation, okay? So when you're being counted in the census, the House of Representatives, you have all these, every state gets, representatives that get to go to Congress and represent that state. So with the less people being counted, that's the less representatives you're gonna have. You can actually lose a representative. So something that's near and dear to my heart, like reparations, when that comes up, God willing, when the reparation bills comes up and it's time for Congress to vote on it, I want as many people that represent my state in Congress to vote yes on that. You feel me? If we have more people to vote on that, then the higher chance of this being moved through Congress. So it's important for us to be counted in the census, okay? The next thing I wanted to talk about is what's at stake if we are undercounted. So it's pretty much just the reverse. What's at stake if we're undercounted? If we're not being counted, we're going to lose funding. We're going to lose representation. I want to resist. No, we ain't doing that. I'm one of the fighters. You feel me? So definitely fill out your census. When it comes to voter education, what's on the ballot? Federal, state, and local level. Federal, obviously, you have the presidential election. You have Trump and Pence running against Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Now, I understand they may not be your favorite candidates. They're not mine, but I still got to get out there and vote because it's not a popularity contest. There's so much more that they're responsible for. You feel me? There's a lot that they're responsible for. Let's take, for instance, the Supreme Court Justice RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who just passed. This is a huge vacancy. So that's the federal level, you know. And there's a lot of Senate races that's going on throughout the state. If you're not involved in these Senate races, like if you're sitting here in California, get involved. Start doing phone banking, start doing text banking to other states so you can help those folks get out and vote. There's a lot of Senate races that are important. There's one in Kentucky that's super important. There's two in Georgia that are really important. There's Colorado, there's Arizona, there's Texas. It has some very important Senate races going on. All right. So, you know, get involved. You can get involved, you can make your voice be heard, and you can help affect those Senate races because we need as many as possible in our favor so we can start creating the laws and the legislation on our behalf that benefits our communities and benefits our people. Locally, what's on the ballot? Proposition 15, bar none, the most important one, probably of our lifetime. Proposition 15, we're closing the loophole in Prop 13. We're bringing back $12 billion to the state, $3 billion over to the county, all right? To the county of Los Angeles annually. $3 billion, like would it be, bravo, $billion to Los Angeles County. This is important because this money is going to come to our neighborhood. We wrote the bill. We made sure that we put the local control funding formula in it so the money goes to the highest need folks, to the people that need it the most. All right. This money is going to our schools and to our communities. This money is going to our high schools. This money is going to our community colleges. This money is going to our infrastructure, like our roads and our bridges and the potholes. This money is going to our public sector jobs. This money is going to our libraries so we can open it up and have actual hours again. This money is going all over, okay? Because right now it's lining the pockets of some rich billionaire who's buying his 7th beach house. That's where the money is right now. That's where your money is. They're not paying their fair market value. We are. California homeowners pay 3/4 of the of property taxes. Property taxes is how you fund local governments. They take all the property taxes and they dish it back out to the local governments, and local governments then starts dispersing. Well, when you have these giant corporations that are not paying their fair share of property taxes, we're losing out on that. They're benefiting from Proposition 13 that was passed in 1978 that says there's a 2% cap on all property owners, whether residential or commercial. So what we want to do is we want to keep the protections for the homeowner. We want to keep the protections for the renter. We want to keep the protections for the small business. But for you commercial properties that are already bringing in money, you don't need this protection. You're already making billions. Why are you using this protection that we created for the homeowner? So we need to close that loophole, and we need to bring the money back to the community and to our schools. All right, that's a no-brainer for me. Proposition 16, affirmative action. That's self-explanatory. We need to repeal 209, and we need to make sure we have affirmative action in place so we can start balancing the books. We have kids that are brilliant that can't get into school because there's nothing there for them. There's no seats left. We need to make sure that our kids are getting into these schools, to the UCs, getting into the CSUs, getting in across the board and into the jobs. So yes, on Prop 16. Prop 17, that's the giving folks on parole the right to vote. That's, once again, self-explanatory. If you already served your time, you don't need to be punished again. That's ridiculous. You got people that are coming out and they're literally stuck in the laws of the Jim Crow South of the 1930s, where your right to vote has been revoked. because you already paid your time, that makes 0 cents. That makes 0 cents. So folks on parole, they deserve the right to vote, period. Um, that's the local ballot. So yes on 15, yes on 16, yes on 17. Reimagine LA, Measure J. We want to take 10% of the county's general fund and use that for our communities and for our services. We want to defund the police. Take that money from law enforcement and fund our community. So that's a no-brainer as well. Yes on Measure J. Yeah, yeah. Don't let them intimidate you. Don't let them push you around. Fight back. Stand up for yourself and stand up for your community. Because I know I will. So I want to wrap this up. That's my rant. I went in a little bit, but shout out to Sanctuary of Hope. Shout out to my great friend Janet. Man, Janet, amazing, brilliant young woman. So glad to call you friend. So glad to see all the great work you've been doing and continue to do. I'm in your corner. I got your back, and I wanna raise my drink. I wanna toast to you. I'm not gonna tell you what's in the cup, but it's one of my favorite drinks. Nothing too heavy. Not big on day drinking, but because this is a virtual happy hour, I am gonna toast to you, my friend. Um, Congratulations, and just continue to do great work. Blessings.
Kurt, thank you for those words. I just want to make it very clear that you didn't rant. What you did was offer some knowledge to give us voters something to think about as we plan to go to the polls. But also, I think you really set the tone about what's really at stake in the event that we don't have huge completion rates of the census. So thank you for joining us, Kurt. Really appreciate you. Close out from Kurt. We have with us Sandy Cook from the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, who's going to share with us some very important information about voting, having a plan, and providing us just in general all the information that we need so we can be empowered to vote and to vote early. And hopefully we can get Sandy to also talk about our Vote Early October initiative.
Time to get ready to vote, y'all. Yes. Well, hello, everyone, and thank you, Janet and Sanctuary of Hope team, for having me on this night. I'm so excited to be here with you and your guests and your viewers. So I'm here tonight to give some information about preparing to vote. And I just wanted to say that the information that I'll be sharing with folks tonight is really from a Cali perspective. So that because we're here in California. However, I do want to share that if you're on with us now and you live somewhere else throughout the country, we partner with Michelle Obama's When We All Vote. So if you go to whenweallvote.org, I think it's .org, I'm sorry, and she has some great information there for wherever you are in the country. It can direct you to your state and to the laws that you would be having to register and vote under. So everything you'll hear tonight, again, will be from a Cali perspective, but go to whenwevote.org and you can just put in that information, your state, and they'll pop you up into your state and give you that information. And I do want to just take a moment to kind of center us into what we're going to be talking about, because there's a lot going on right now, right? There's a lot going on, and folks have been protesting, and our young folks have been making demands on this country for not just reform, but transformation. And we know, and we're so grateful for all the work that's being done right now by the activists and people in the street. But we know that if we don't vote, then all of that work doesn't change to transformation. And so we want to empower you tonight and encourage you, even though the suppression is real. You know, you have to really wonder why they're trying to keep you from voting. That's because your vote is powerful. Your vote truly is your voice, and we just don't use that power, but we must do it if we want to see the transformation that we've been fighting for, right? So I just want to encourage you to take a deep breath, grab a pen, paper, jot down some information so that you can be informed and ready to vote when it's when it's time, and that'll be in a few weeks here in California. As you might know, here in California, our Governor Newsom, ordered that all registered voters in California will receive a vote by mail ballot. So if you are registered already, you will receive a ballot whether you request it or not. He made that order because of, we are still in a pandemic, COVID-19, and this is to kind of help protect us, and so that you can vote from home. And so what you would need to do is, in order to make sure that you ensure that you get your ballot at home, the first thing that we would want you to do is to check your voter status. And here in California, you can go to registertovote.ca.gov. And when you go there, you can just put in some basic information and it will show your current voter status. It will show if your address is correct, if your registration is active, and and everything is good to go. If it's not, then you might want to take some time to register or re-register, because if you moved or if you changed your name, you might have gotten married or anything like that, you want to update your registration. That means you need to re-register. You can do it at that same web address at registertovote.ca.gov. And if you happen to be here in LA County where I live, we have an awesome website at lavote.net. That's lavote.net, where there's a lot of great information. You can go right there, check your voter status, and make sure that you are ready to receive your ballot, which is scheduled to arrive around October 5th. And that's in a week or so. And actually October 5th is when we start voting. It's called early vote. And we are really encouraging everyone to vote early. We want to make sure that we have all of our ballots in. You can fill out your ballot right at home, and you can do three things. You can either put that ballot back in the mail, no postage needed, or you may have noticed, like I have, ballot drop boxes being put up around the city. They're being installed right now. You can put your ballot in one of those ballot drop boxes, is what they're called. And soon they will have locations and be able to tell you exactly where they're located. So you can do that. Or you can wait until a vote center opens, which the vote centers open on October 24th, and you can walk your ballot right into the vote center and turn it in there. Also, you can vote on October 5th down at the registrar's office, which is located in Norwalk. You can go in and you can vote on that day. So October is our vote day. We want to encourage everyone to vote early. We're calling October election month. So we want to make sure that we are ready when that ballot comes. On October 19th is voter registration deadline date. That's the official deadline date. And if you register to vote or re-register by October 19th, you'll also get a ballot at home. So we want to encourage you to do it right now. I wish you could pull out your cell phone and just go to registertovote.ca.gov, check your status, or register right there online so that you can make sure that you get your ballot. But if you don't and you happen to miss that October 19th date, we also have what we call conditional registration, which means when the vote centers open up, you can actually go into a vote center, register on that same day to vote, and they'll give you a ballot. Now your ballot will be counted once they check your eligibility to vote. So they'll make sure that you're eligible to vote, and then once they clear that, then your ballot will be counted. So we definitely want to encourage you to make a plan. We're talking right now. We're letting you know that your ballot. Sorry, guys. We're letting you know that your ballot will be coming October 5th. We want you to get ready for that. We want you to make a plan. Start doing your research. Start seeing what's on the ballot. You can actually go here in LA County again to lavote.net and actually look at your sample ballots, which are going to be mailed around next week, I believe, in a few days. You'll get your sample ballot. The sample ballot will show you exactly what's going to be on your ballot so you can start preparing to vote. So we want to make sure that you do that. And if you mail your ballot that is postmarked on or by election day, which is November 3rd, it will be counted. So if you waited until November 3rd to turn that ballot in and it's postmarked on that day, it will be counted if it's received within 17 days of November 3rd. So that's quite some time, but you can see that there's many options for you to get your ballot in. And we also want to encourage you to take advantage of tracking your ballot. There's also a way that you can track your ballot. We're going to give you a website when I complete so that you can get all of these links and get connected. But yes, you can track your ballot from the time it's mailed, received, and counted by text or email. They'll let you know that. So you want to definitely sign up for that. And if you are or know anyone that has been formerly incarcerated, we want you to know that if you are on probation, that's probation, your voting rights have been restored and you can register to vote. We need everyone to vote. So we want, if you're, again, formerly incarcerated, but you're on probation, you can register to vote. Now, if you are on parole currently, you cannot vote. But we're hoping that Proposition 17 that's on the ballot, if it's passed, by the voters, it will restore writing votes of people that are currently on parole. So we want to definitely support that. I'm personally supporting that because, that is our right to vote. So we hope that you will register to vote. If you know anyone or if you've been formerly incarcerated, you're on probation, definitely register to vote. Again, go to registertovote.ca.gov. You can register right there online and make sure that we can support this proposition on the ballot, right? So we can pass that. Everyone will have a right to vote, right? So, and then here's just some important notes that we want to leave with you. We want you to make sure when you receive your vote by mail ballot, because it may be new to a lot of us that haven't voted by mail before. We just want to encourage you to, when you get that ballot, you open it up, don't throw anything away. Make sure that you are reading the instructions that are going to be in there. The ballot is very easy to read, so you can make your choices. And then you want to, before you seal that ballot in the envelope that they provide for you, you want to make sure you review your choices before you seal it. And then once you seal your ballot, your envelope that they send you, you want to make sure that you sign it. So all of those instructions will be in your envelope when you receive your ballot, along with your I voted sticker that we all love to have and floss around that we voted, which is great. But all of that will be in your ballot. You want to make sure that you read it, make sure that you signed it, so when it gets to the registrar's office, it's going to be counted. sign up for the tracking to make sure that it was received and make sure that it was counted. And then if you know anyone that needs help, maybe grandma or some of our elders in our community, you want to make sure that you're helping them get those ballots to a drop box or a vote center. We just want to make sure that everyone is voting in this coming November election. So I hope that, and then before we leave, I want to leave you with a email, a website that you can go to and get all of this information that I'm sharing with you, because I know I'm giving you a lot. You can go to octoberelectionmonth.org. So that coalition, so I'm gonna repeat that, is October Election Month Coalition.org. And all of that great information, and thank you for putting that slide up. All of that great information that we've just shared with you will be there so that you don't have to feel like you're missing anything. Please join us there, the coalition. Get information on how you can share and help folks, actually help your neighbors, your friends, your family actually vote, and give them information about how to do that. So I want to thank you for spending this time. Thank you, Janet, again, and Sanctuary of Hope, for having me. I'm having my coffee. That's my cocktail of the night. So thank you. Congratulations. And happy voting.
So we've had a couple of inquiries about our Woke Moments t-shirt. And for those of you who know about Woke Moments, it's one of Sanctuary of Hope's podcasts in which we share information about issues that affect young adults, as well as affect our communities that our young people reside in. And so as a part of our Woke Moments, we want to make sure that we're constantly creating content and sharing information that will be beneficial to you, but also beneficial to the young people that are out there, especially our millennials and Gen Zs. And so if you would like to have one of our fabulous Woke Moments t-shirts, please visit our website, www.thesoh.org. We ask for a donation of $25 to support the work that we do, providing basic needs, housing, youth development services here within the South Los Angeles and South Bay region. Right now, we are going to talk about our young adults, our young people who are our young voters who are going to either be voting for the first time or voting again. We know that young people are one of the most influential voting blocs right now who can actually influence and turn this election around. However, we know that in order to reach this group, we have to inspire them. We have to support them with education. We also need to support them even in their movements and to help them understand as well that although they are in a movement, they are being active, all of those things need to translate into a vote. And we have two young people who are going to be joining us today, who's going to share some of their thoughts about what it is that we need to do right now to engage our young voters in this electoral process. Gina, are you with us?
Hey, I'm here.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm great. I am fantastic. So what do you have to share with us?
I think everybody should research who they're voting for. I think that's one of the most important pieces that, hold on, okay, here we go. So I think everybody should research who they're voting for. There's a lot of things about a lot of our politicians that we don't know about or we may not have ever heard about. And I think it's very important that everybody researches who they're voting for because they're voting people into office and you don't want to make the same mistake voting people like Trump into office. That's not helping our communities. That's not helping the homeless. That's not helping in this pandemic at all. And I would just suggest that everyone is very careful with this next election, just considering what happened last election.
Right. So what do you think some of the things that we need to be doing right now to really kind of ignite young voters?
I would say have like fundraisers or, get together at parks, just like free like information sessions or whatever. But apparently we can't do that because of the pandemic. So I would say like start off on Zoom meetings, get in contact with other agencies that have to do with foster youth, like iFoster, the IOP program, AB 12, just a lot of other places that consist of foster youth and a lot of people that want to help foster youth. And I think we should all collaborate just to make sure that the foster youth know what they're doing when they are voting. And so that way everyone is in cahoots with each other and everyone understands how important it is to vote.
Right. So tell us why you are voting in this election. Like, why are you personally so kind of adamant about, casting your vote and why, your peers need to join along with you?
I'm actually super pissed off that Trump is still in office. And I feel like my one vote can really change that not happening again. Mm-hmm. That's really how I feel. Like, what if everybody voted for, let's say Obama was elected president again, right? So let's say it's Obama and Trump. If everybody voted for Obama and I didn't vote, Obama doesn't get elected. But had I voted, Obama would have been elected. And that's the way that I think. I am so pissed off that Trump is in office that that's really how I feel. If I don't vote, then we're going to have another
Right.
And that's my personal reason of why I'm voting.
So that's the reason why you're voting. So we also know that it's very important for young people to kind of vote up and down the ballot too. So what are some of your words you want to share with of your peers, especially, you know, our millennials and Gen Zs, about ensuring that they vote for everything that's on the ballot?
Honestly, personally, some of the stuff I don't understand that's on the ballot, so I'll Google it, because if I don't understand it, I'm not voting for it. If I don't know what I'm voting for, I'm not gonna vote for it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I know one of the things on one of the ballots that I seen was something about like Prop 22 for independent contractors and business owners and like nonprofit organizations. Mm-hmm. The way that they worded it was so confusing. I literally had to look it up and Google it. Mm-hmm. And when I understood what it was, then I voted for it. But I go through the ballot like from beginning to end, and then I'll go back and recheck my answers, so I know I didn't pick the wrong thing, that I didn't vote for the wrong thing. And that's personally how I do my ballot. But right. In different areas, in different districts in Los Angeles, because Los Angeles is such a big place, you have like Ladera Heights, you have like Inglewood, you have, you know, Mid-City, LA. Since it's such a big place, they split it up in districts. So each ballot is different.
Right, right. And I think what you are expressing is that I think it's really critical to this conversation is that in order for young people to be empowered, they need to be able to use those tools, whether the tools are Google, whether it's the tools or information that's provided to them by various outlets that they go to seek support, whether that's a mentor, a program, a service. All of those can be very helpful in understanding how to be an informed and sophisticated voter.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Well, I want to thank you for joining us. Hey, I think we're feeling a little good, especially after hearing Gina share from her perspective about what's going to be needed to empower young people to vote. And so what we've done is thrown a few questions at one of our young adults who is a part of our Sanctuary of Hope program. Just some basic questions about what's inspiring him to vote, as well as what he thinks is going to be needed to equip young voters with the tools to turn out in this election. So we're going to go to Japet Craig right now, and let's look forward to learn.
What should we be doing? Well, definitely we should be reaching out to those who doesn't know about these kind of things by examples, as far as showing them how to do it, as far as like on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok videos, and just showing them that you're doing it. Maybe other people will do it as well, like a brother or sister or cousin or friend, because we're more relatable to them, and as far as age and whatever we have going on in our life. Hearing it come from like a mother point of view, or like that higher authority, like political kind of view, most people our age will probably look down on it and not want to be involved in it because of the process and all the information they have to input. But if they do it with someone, you know, my age or someone more relatable, they will definitely be more up to. We really missed the mark by feeding it into like the whole stigmatism of like, oh, if we don't know nothing about it, you know, we're not gonna do it. Oh, other people around us our age are not really doing it, we're not really into it, so who cares? Because it's not gonna affect us, and that's where we really get downplayed at, because it really does affect us. And because of our lack of knowledge of not knowing about how to do a vote, or how to go about it, or even how to put a ballot in, it messes up a lot of people within that population because of not knowing how to do it and just not having the motivation or having like that kind of having that kind of change that they want to see in their community. So the more that it is being talked about or more stuff that's happening in the world, I think it'll change. But that's what we're not understanding is, you know, the people of our population 40 and under, we really are like a big group of the voting population as well. But it's called Why Nations Fail by James Robinson. And then he's a British scientist. And he talks about a lot of things I wouldn't really say related to America. In a way it is, but just as an overall perspective, make me understand what our politics is really about. So yeah, Why Nations Fail is a good one. But yeah, that's a long look. Oh yeah, make sure y'all vote.
Now that we've wrapped up with our young people sharing their direct perspectives on voting and engaging in the census, we have with us another very special guest, and that guest is Dr. Anthony Samad with the Mervyn Dimely Institute at California State Dominguez Hills. Dr. Samad is doing some great work there, especially with one of the initiatives that's there at the Policy Institute, which is around Thinking Lives Matter. And what Thinking Lives Matter does is encourages our young people to not only be informed, but to become sophisticated voters and what that looks like for them. We know that young people, and when I say young, we're talking about those who are under the age of 40 years old, are a very important part of the electorate, and we really don't want them to sit out of this election at all. And so we need to ensure that we're doing everything that we can to reach out and to maximize their vote as well. And so thank you, Dr. Samad, for joining us.
I'm Dr. Anthony Asadullah Samad, and I'm the director of the Mervyn Dimely African American Political and Economic Institute at California State University, Dominguez Hills. I'd first like to congratulate Janet Galloway Kelly on her 10th anniversary of doing the good work at the Sanctuary of Hope and helping our community work through the issues that impact the quality of life for African American and others. Whether it be homelessness, whether it be economic literacy, whether it be public policy discussions. I think it's a good work, and I toast to you the opportunity to continue that work. This is a very important election. This election will not only carve the policy agenda for the next generation, but it also will decide the judges, will decide who serves in office, from the presidency down to the local elected official. This is where we have to become more sophisticated in how we look at who serves us, what policies they allow to be put in place, and how we ourselves engage the democracy through the referendum initiatives. Direct democracy has been used over the last 30 years to undercut the movement for equality. When we see ballot initiatives that address taxation, that address living and what living costs are, when we see how they impact health and health services, we have to be aware that it takes each and every one of us, from the oldest to the youngest, to begin to think through the realities of how we want our lives to be. We can no longer put a disproportionate focus on personalities and react to events that happen without thinking through them. The Dimely Institute initiated a movement amongst millennials and Gen Zers called Thinking Lives Matters. This allows us to not only think through the advocacy movements that we engage in, but also what are the repercussions, the intended consequences and the unintended consequences that we oftentimes face when we see these challenges come before us. We need to be thinkers in this movement and understand the lessons of the past as to why previous movements failed, because we reacted. Instead of being revolutionaries for a cause, we were reactionaries for a cause. And once those movements subsided, we found structural racism still in place. And so it's important for you all to get out and vote, particularly millennials and Gen Zers, and begin to understand what the process is, and not only from the people who are on the ballot, but the initiatives that are on the ballot, and how direct democracy impacts our life. The laws that change the quality of life and the quality of living that we all engage oftentimes are buried at the bottom of the ballot in these ballot referendums. And so it is time for us to become thinkers and not just reactors. It is important for us all to understand long before November the 3rd what will be on the ballot and what will be the consequences if we react to certain ballot measures, or if we react to certain people who are running for office, and will they be able to make the differences that we need in our society. So get out and vote, and get out and become an informed voter. Don't just follow blind mantra, but go out and make sure that Black Lives Matters.
Yes, Dr. Samad, we agree with you. Nothing is going to matter unless we use a very important tactic, which is our vote. So that's what makes this moment a movement, and the movement a moment to vote. If there is ever anyone that I have become very familiar with that exemplifies leadership within the millennial and Gen Z generation, I would call out the name Charity Chandler Cole. It's been amazing just to watch and hear her lead in the area of census information, but also in the area of voting, and knowing her past history of being a former foster youth, as well as serving as a commissioner within LA County, especially in the areas of child welfare, but also being a member and one of the leaders of the Black Los Angeles Young Democrats. And so we know right now, galvanizing that young adult voice, galvanizing the moments and the movements and the activism that our young people are bringing to the forefront right now, is all a part of expanding the work, or expanding the outreach, and expanding the necessary information to turn those young adults out to vote. And so we have with us Charity, and we're going to hear from her about why this census and why this election is important now more than ever.
Hello everyone, I am so excited to speak with you tonight about the importance of completing the 2020 census and voting in the November 3rd election. My name is Charity Chandler Cole, born and raised in Los Angeles, California. I am a social justice advocate and child welfare advocate. I turned 18 years old in May 2004, right before the November presidential election, where incumbent George W. Bush was running against John Kerry, a senator from Massachusetts. Unlike some people, but like most of the people in my community, especially us millennials, I knew nothing about politics what voting really meant, and why it even mattered. I honestly didn't care. The only reason why I even voted in that election was to be defiant and to go against the grain of everything I was told I couldn't have. You see, prior to that election, I had some pretty horrific life experiences. From being poor, experiencing my family fall apart after my parents divorced, suffering through the agonizing pain of watching my mother battle breast cancer, then having to steal food and clothing to survive, and ending up in juvenile hall as a result of that, to then ending up in the foster care system where I was abused, violated, and told that I would never amount to anything. After that came homelessness, more poverty, and me being 18 and pregnant. I was so angry that the world saw me as someone insignificant, disposable, and technically not even a contributing member of society. Because of the baby I was going to one day soon give birth to, and knowing that statistically I was destined to fail, I wanted to prove the world wrong and show that I had meaning, purpose, and worth in this world. That meant going after everything they said I couldn't have, such as going to college, getting a job, and showing up to vote. When I voted that year, it was simply out of a desire to do what others around me didn't or couldn't. And because our history books aren't filled with the true stories of our past, I didn't know how powerful my vote was in that moment. I was not aware that my grandparents and our ancestors fought, died, and sacrificed for our right to vote, which was what we just barely really got in the 1960s. I did not realize how real voter suppression was and the lengths people went to prevent us from having a voice in our democracy. Had I known that, I would have more boldly walked in to cast my vote. I would have researched and made a concerted effort to know what and who was on the ballot and the ways in which it would affect me. I just didn't know. But now I know. I know that when I vote, win or lose, I am sending a loud message to our government and elected officials that I am an active participant in my democracy and that what I vote for is what I want to see happen. When they see more of us show up at the polls, they are forced to respond to the will of their communities. When they know in a given district that only 3 or 11,000 people in a population of 60,000 to 1 million people will show up, and they have data on who those people are that will show up, they will intentionally craft their messaging and their initiatives around the people they know will hold them accountable, the voters. After everything we have lost, after everything we fought to gain, we owe it to ourselves and our ancestors to be their wildest dreams and show them that their sacrifices were not in vain. Our lives are literally on the ballot this year. The right for our sisters and brothers to vote after experiencing incarceration is on the ballot this year. Reparations is on the ballot this year. Affirmative action, our right to have equity and equality in hiring opportunities and access is on the ballot this year. Resources being redirected to programming and services that will strengthen and restore our communities that have been oppressed by racism and police brutality is on the ballot this year. We have a responsibility to show up and show out. Our children and their children are relying on us to lay the foundation for their futures. 2020 has shown us why it is so important to participate in our democracy, both at a national and a local level. We have seen firsthand how we, our families, and our loved ones are negatively affected if those that are elected to serve are ill-prepared, uninformed, and not equipped to quickly respond to the needs of our community. So how do we do this? How do we get started? First and foremost, we have a deadline, a critical deadline that is quickly approaching on September 30th to be counted in the 2020 census. Our communities need adequate resources and representation, and if we are undercounted, we miss the opportunity to have federal dollars allocated to us that can support housing, transportation, health, and education, to name a few. When we lack proper resources and representation, we suffer. We have the power to change that by completing the 2020 census. It literally takes less than 5 minutes. So go to 2020census.gov right now and complete it. Next, if you have not registered to vote in the November 3rd election and you are in California, please register today at sos.ca.gov. The last day to register electronically is October 19th, but do not wait until the last minute. Register today. Lastly, you must vote in the presidential and local election, including all of the ballot initiatives that are out there. There are organizations literally out there right now providing information on the candidates and initiatives. Do your homework. Know how you're voting. And if you're not sure what something means, it's okay, because it can be hella confusing. So ask someone you know. Have a conversation with someone whose opinion and input you value and respect. I recently came across a super dope organization called Our Own, and they make amazing content around each of the initiatives. So check out their website at www.ourown.life to learn more. Let's exercise our power this year and show our force by completing the 2020 census, registering to vote, and actually voting in the November 3rd election. Finally, I want to give a huge congratulations and toast to the Sanctuary of Hope and the founder, Janet Kelly, on your 10-year anniversary. Thank you so much for what you do for the community. Ciao, guys.
Charity, thank you so much. Thank you for those. Oh, now I had to burp. Okay. Thank you, Charity, so much. Thank you for those impassioned words. Every word you said, we definitely felt. We felt it. We need to complete the census. We need to turn out to vote. And I think we need to close on your message, because the time is now. The time is definitely now for us to have our voices heard. So one of the things we need to know is, 1, we need to vote early. 2, we need to check our voter registration status. 3, we need to actually turn out to vote. And also, and last and most importantly, the September 30th deadline is almost already upon us. It is very important, before September 30th, if you have not completed your census, that you complete your census. We don't want to leave any money on the table. We want to make sure that our communities have the necessary resources so that, 1, we could protect our social safety net system, we can have our roads fixed, we can ensure that our kids have all the necessary resources while they're in school to improve their education. All of those things rely on our collective participation in the census, and nor can we afford to lose any form of representation. So we want to make sure that we protect ourselves, we protect our representation, we get the resources that we need for our community, and we just turn out to vote in record numbers. No matter how you vote, who you vote for, we just need you to vote. It's part of our participatory democracy. It's part of our civic engagement, which allows us to live and thrive not only in the communities that we live in, but to care about others in other communities as well. So thank you for joining our happy hour. I hope that you enjoyed yourself. I hope that you've learned a whole lot of information that was shared, and that you will take this information and you will share it with others. Thank you once again. And remember, don't forget to vote, and don't forget to complete the census.